So how do we let the stress work for us instead of the stress working against us? The first thing that David did, and the first thing that you and I need to do in the times of distress and anxiety and worry, and it's not always easy to do, and it's not always the first thing that we often think of in the midst of panic, but we must also always remember that the first thing that's necessary is we have to go to God, go back to God. At some point when David was fleeing from Absalom, David did what he'd learned to do earlier on in his life. He learned in the lonely moments of taking care of his father's sheep on the hillsides of Judea, he learned what it meant to go to God and to spend time with God. Time and time again in the Psalms we see that David understood the power of entering into fellowship with, relationship with God, to draw near to his heavenly Father. Listen to what he said in Psalm 18, verse 6. But in my distress, I cried out to the Lord. Yes, I prayed to my God for help. He understood that in the midst of crisis, you can find phrases like that all through the book of Psalms, where David has an understanding of the importance of knowing how to go to God in times of crisis. So as he's losing his kingdom, that is from his perspective at that moment, as his relationship with his son Absalom is stressed out and basically broken, irreparable, David goes to this wilderness event and this wilderness environment, and he says, in this situation, I've got to get back to God. I've got to find the one who's going to be the shepherd of my life. I love Psalm 36, verse 9. It says, you're a fountain of cascading light, and you open our eyes to light. What that means is this: God, when we get in his presence, gets us out of the darkness and back into the light. You know, when you're going through stress, things get real dark on the inside of your mind. There's hopelessness, there's like a lot of darkness that begins to capture your soul, and it's only when we get into the presence of God that his light begins to bring us back into light as well. So this stressed out David made the choice that he was going to go to God. Now you and I need to do the same. I would encourage you today that whatever you're feeling in your life right now, whatever's going through your heart and mind, the darkness of those emotions that you're feeling at times right now with all the stress around us, let's make the decision to go back to God.